Change is a constant thing about life. Make no mistake, it is all-encompassing. In today's watch world, everything seems to point to the fact that there is a new king on the block. Gen Z, a generation unwilling to be bound by the rules of the old. To maintain their grasp on the market by attracting this younger generation of buyers, even the biggest brands have to bend over their backs. Have you noticed the subtle changes in luxury watchmakers recently? Join us on a roller coaster ride through the tricks brands are using nowadays. Just as always, Swiss timepieces remain in high demand. But while it's undeniable that the fiery passion for owning a luxury watch from your favourite brand or any other wouldn't be quenched anytime soon, there are still several things that you should know. To start with, did you know the sales of used timepieces have been growing by the day? If you aren't living under a rock, you must have known that already, but don't even think for a second that it's a mere coincidence. Everything happens for a reason, or so they say. Whether you agree with the popular expression or not, the truth is that in this context, the new market trend is driven by Gen Z buyers who haven't lost their sense of sustainability when shopping in the market for luxury goods. Here's an interesting fun fact. According to a recent study by the auditing and consulting giant Deloitte, right now, the global market for used watches is estimated to be around $21.7 billion. Why don't we play a brief game? Imagine you're no longer in 2023. You can pick any year you want, but just go back in time. In the past, collectors had to scout the ends of the earth just to get their hands on rare watches, and whenever they eventually found one, it may not even be the model they've been yearning for. In auctions, this previous generation of collectors, especially for rare watches, had to resort to paying for watches at an astronomical price. But how about nowadays? Thanks to the rise of online sales sites, the used market is now more professional than ever. Did you know some of these online sales sites verify authenticity with even the watch manufacturers involved? Fabienne Lupo, the former head of the Foundation High Horology, once said, "Nowadays there is a realization that we need to consume more responsibly." And let's be frank, it's a bang-on summary of today's market. It's almost like this generation of buyers all came together to declare they'd never be paying for anything over the odds. In trying to unfold the recent turn of events, Lupo identified the consumer choice of Gen Z members, who, by the way, are born between 1997 and 2010, as people who are very concerned about the future of the planet and no longer want to buy new. Certain models in the Swiss luxury watch industry are getting harder to find in the mainstream market, thanks to its long waiting lists, and that remains another pivotal reason why the used market is doing so well. Sales platforms for certified pre-owned timepieces have been multiplying online, and to this very day, the sector is still attracting new entrants. Top celebrities like John Legend, Kevin Hart, and Disney's president Michael Ovitz are among its investors. Even Richemont, the owners of Piaget, IWC, and Cartier, have long been in the field of play. After they bought the British platform Watchfinder in 2018, Richemont has been one of the pioneers of selling certified pre-owned watches. Now that the big annual event Watches and Wonders has come and gone, with the biggest brand out there unveiling their calendar and the latest models they have for us, it goes without saying that the brands have a daunting task ahead of them, winning the younger generation over. However, despite being uneasy, it's far from being impossible. The big brands are still booming, and that's the sign that they've adapted. Talking about his perception of the new wave of buyers in the market, Laurent Pauves, the chief commercial officer of Vacheron Constantin, spoke about some interesting things. "I don't think young people today are different from young people of a different time. There's always a new letter to describe a different generation. I hate that. Every new generation is interested at some point in history, in substance, in culture, in art." In a nutshell, Pauves believes Gen Z members, albeit young with a different way of looking at life, are not so different from their predecessors as people claim to be. Whether you agree with this perspective or not, we believe the younger generation is different. As a matter of fact, you'd be hard-pressed to say some of the biggest brands out there aren't thinking outside the box to give them an edge. It goes without saying that to attract Gen Z consumers, watchmakers would have to focus on the digital world and the opportunities it presents. This doesn't automatically translate to making ads, posting shiny images on Instagram for anyone to see, and then responding to random comments. It goes far beyond that. The younger generation of consumers seeks something truly engaging. To flush out cash that could have been used for more substantial things instead of worldly possessions, they'd have to genuinely connect with whatever service you render. In this case, watchmakers merely posting about their watches may never be enough. What they are truly interested in is how the watch world either fit into their lifestyle or the kind they'd like to want to attain someday. Speaking of lifestyles they hope to attain, that's where influencer marketing comes in. If there's one luxury brand that seems to have gotten the inner workings of how this works, it has to be Jaeger-LeCoultre. In the recent Venice Film Festival, the firm flew several influencers with thousands of followers on their respective social media platforms, sporting their watches and essentially every important accessory the brand can offer. Mixing with other A-list celebrities and showing off their luxury without shoving it down people's throats, it transmits a mental image to its audience. In 2016, did you know that Vacheron Constantin launched an Instagram page called @The Hour Lounge that solely discusses the brand's history? The page has managed to amass over 50,000 followers this year, but that's not even the best part about it. Compared to its main page, the Hour Lounge attracts a much younger demographic, which is pivotal in building a good rapport with future customers. Other brands like Tag Heuer are taking full advantage of celebrity brand ambassadors. Last year, the firm announced they'd be partnering with Australian actor Jacob Elordi. Given his starring role in the teen hit series Euphoria, Jacob already has a solid following, and a few posts with accessories would grab the attention of younger customers faster than they'd have been able to do it alone. However, there is a word of advice from George Sees, the marketing officer at Tag Heuer. According to him, having top celebrities as ambassadors isn't assuredly going to grant success to any firm in the seductive game of appealing to the all-important younger generation. In his words, "One thing I find fascinating about the younger generation is their concern for authenticity. They place a high value on information and narrative. It's not just having nice things, but also talking about them and interacting on social media. It's fascinating to them, and this is what we do." To further buttress, did you know the Chief Marketing Officer of Montblanc, Vincent Montelescot, agreed with him? Montelescot even went ahead to note authenticity as pivotal to any brand seeking to go into social media platforms with the hope of getting consumers. As sound advice, he notes, "You need to be authentic, you need to be true to who you are. Maintaining if you are fake something in the long run, it doesn't work. With this generation, you get punished very quickly." It's also worth mentioning that Gen Z customers tend to seek trusted reviews from external parties and do extensive research about brands, their history, their significance, and many more before adding a watch to their collection. Today, Grand Seikos, the luxury line of the Seiko brand, has most likely realized that being part of a mass market company has not only helped to integrate young consumers into the luxury offerings. Grand Seiko watches being affordable despite being just as good compared to Swiss manufacturers is one thing, but this is a different ballgame. Thanks to the tendency of the younger generation to take a deep dive through media platforms, who wouldn't be impressed with the brand? For many brands out there, even outside the watch world, Gen Z customers represent a small sample of the overall population of buyers. With such, they can afford to keep them at the back of the bus. However, as we said earlier, the times are changing. In this modern world of the internet, there's a plethora of information available online. Soon, no one will be able to resist the urge to start planting seeds in the heart of the customers of tomorrow today.